TV9 respond immediately, when the lockdown started to say this is all safe and all that. But some of the North Indian newspapers or even some huge TV channels, they asked me for money. We're like, where do I get this money from? You'll be shocked, the guys who keep talking all moralities and all that crap, and then they said, paise do, then we'll, and it was quite significant money. I said, this is for the industry. Whereas here, Inadu or TV5, the moment we said it is for the industry, immediately they, they did the interviews and all that, and overnight, things started shifting.
Correct.
Tamil Nadu, then after seeing this, the Tamil Nadu farmers, they could make their media talk. But in North, we just couldn't do that. Right. But anyway, so that also taught me that, these relationships have to be built in peacetime, not when there's problem, right? So that said, I think processing especially is growing quite rapidly. The chicken consumption itself is growing at about 8% year on year. And eggs is about 6 to 7%, so which is quite rapid. So that means we will double every 7-8 years. Processing, I think, is growing around 30-35%. So the demand is coming up. Cities want more better product now. And then if you consider that by 2025, 100 of our cities will be 1 million plus population.
Correct.
So the opportunity is quite significant. Of course, comes with its challenges, but I think the opportunity is quite significant, yeah.
Fantastic. Now I turn to Abhay who is both, now that you excused yourself as not so expert, you can also answer as a consumer. Now that I know that Godrej Tyson is one of the early companies to come out with, processed and frozen meat products. What's your experience about the consumer demand for these things? As a consumer yourself, as an expert, as a company man, what's your view? Is it going to grow? Because I know whenever you go to supermarkets, we see shelves of, all these meat products in samosa farms or, various other farms. But are consumers really buying them? We can hear the truth, no problem.
Okay, so I'll try and give both points of view. I think, like I said, an outside-in view as well as a someone from the industry. See, first going as an outside this thing and the consumer, I do believe, I think this industry is poised at a very interesting space. It's at an inflection point. Because when I compare it with, let's say, I call it the Ashirvad Atta moment of 20 years back, where...
40 years in dairy and less than a 40 days exposure to the poultry. So I'm trying to see what are the similarities and what are the dissimilarities. And what are the learnings we can take from each. And because both are basically animal husbandry sector and both are involved, both sides same. One side same type of farmers and sometimes same type of consumers. So what are the learnings? I was listening just now. So one thing which I have got my viewpoint is when you use word processed chicken. It's not processed because when you say word process, generally consumer has got this mindset, it means it's not natural. Lot of additions have been made and form has been changed. If you say milk, we never call it processed, we call it packed milk. Loose milk versus packed milk. So when you sell chicken, chilled, it's only you are changing the form of, because of you want to transport it, you want to extend the shelf life, you pack it. So that quality and standardization. So one is that area. Second, the dissimilarity is because both industry are farmers-based animal husbandry. One industry, which is poultry, is if not 100%, I can say 95% is organized backward and 0% organized in the forward, especially when talking cities. Dairy is totally opposite, 0% organized in the production and mainly more than 50-60% is organized. So we can take for both industry how dairy industry has been organized in the forward and how poultry has gone to the backward. organized. So it can benefit farmers and other thing. Third point, which I think somebody raised, government lobbying, not. I think what my experience with the dealing with the government, when you're talking about your industry, they don't look into as industry profitability. Everybody looks at what is there in for me. And what is there for me, for the policymakers or political leadership, when you are talking about how it is going to benefit masses. Farmers की income में कैसे income होगा, हमारा export कैसे बढ़ेगा, हमारा tax कैसे बढ़ेगा. Okay, like PLI is a very good scheme, but if you can present it कि how it is going to benefit the farmers, yes, not to me. आप बोलोगे मैं industry वालों को इतना profit बढ़ेगा, कोई interested नहीं है. So how it is going to benefit the lakhs of crores of farmers? And आप imagine कीजिए, PLI as junk food has been got. If you see the latest PLI, there are junk food production increase. They are giving PLI not for the natural, and you say more protein. Incidentally, one plus point when you say milk plus egg, both have got 7 gram, but one 250 gram is equal to one egg. One 250 gram milk now cost around 12 rupees, and egg costs 8 rupees. So that is the price comparison also you have to see. It's a good thing. But internationally, I think viability is both in poultry and dairy are same. Our cost of production is higher. So, but gradually we are becoming competitive. Our costs are going to grow, but I have seen world over the cost of production is going up. So that way, one day you are going to become very. So thank you very much, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. That was a good point about calling it packaged chicken, not processed chicken. Varun,
Yeah.
come on, tomorrow.
Very
we'll
good
change our
insight.
packaging. I think 2 points. One, sir, I think our major problem is our because of MSP and all that, our raw material price is about 40% higher than Brazil, except during this last year, during the Ukraine war or what, but it's now coming to that level. But peak of it was 60% lower for Brazilians and Americans than us, right? And that's one point. Two, I just wanted to add 2 points about every egg eaten more per capita is 35,000 new jobs. Every 50 grams of chicken eaten more is 30,000 new jobs. So you can imagine, and it has to be 90% has to be in rural. We can't do like dairy, and our businesses can't be done in cities. Only consumption is in cities. So I think that's the other number I wanted to. But sir, welcome to our this thing, and hopefully
Fraternity.
we'll definitely be using you.
Yes.
निचोड़ के रखेंगे सर, वो तो गारंटी कर रहा हूँ. बहादुर भाई नहीं छोड़ेंगे, but हम भी नहीं छोड़ेंगे.
lot of when an industry stalwart walks into a new industry, he can definitely come with very good insights, which was evident from his observation, which is very helpful. Thank you so much, sir, and thank you all audience for the patient listening, and thank you for the panel.
The towns, there was hardly any consumption of packaged data. This industry in many ways, while that changed during COVID, but if you just circle back 2, 3, 4 years back, it was exactly at that point. So that's number one. Number two, I would also say that COVID has been an significant event for this industry, somewhat harmful to what the gentleman here said, I think, but for many ways it has also been, it has turned the industry into a more quality conscious, a more food safety conscious industry as well. We've been always lucky to have, as Godrej Tyson, that expertise or that focus always, I think, but that also, if I see as a consumer, that was needed to change the paradigm in this industry, which happened in many other industries many years or decades back. So I think that's, as a consumer, I can say that focus on food safety will be very good and inflection point here. When it comes now to, if I speak from the company side, both the categories that we as Godrej Tyson are present in, or the way we view the meat industry, the processed side and then the value added side, are seeing extremely high growths. They are a result of a changed consumer habit post-COVID, but it is also a result of the change that's happening in the infrastructure that is now ready, So a lot of these e-commerce, Q-commerce companies are kind of cutting down on what was perennially the problem of the industry, that cold storage or having a logistics or route to market which was efficient from a cold chain perspective. And then the last, I also believe, what it is being driven by is the expectation in terms of a consumer experience, because ultimately any industry will only have a very sustainable growth, and this kind of also will be competitive when you focus on the consumer experience. And I think that's also something with the kind of products that we have in our portfolio, the Godrej Yummies brand, and what we do with the Real Good Chicken, we're able to provide that consumer experience. And hence, I believe that's the other thing which will drive growth and realize the potential of this industry.
Fantastic. You're an expert, so no doubt. Okay, we'll come to the homegrown CEO. Varun, you know that Sneha has been there for quite some time and across the value chain, right from back end to front end. So you have traveled a lot of journey in the evolution of Sneha as a company. But have you reached a stage where you need to innovate further, or is the current product portfolio, is it enough for, let's say, companies like you, not only for Sneha, but for the whole industry, is it enough to travel further? Because there is a segment which has suddenly came in, the direct-to-consumer segment. Are they competitors to you? Are they helping the overall industry to grow in a direction which probably wasn't traveled in the past? Your comments, please.
Yeah, so the industry in general is very dynamic. The consumer also is getting evolved with each year. There are new requirements. There is convenience, which is the focus right now. So that keeps on changing, and we as a group, so our group is about 40 years old now, but we've been evolving ourselves. We are trying to do new things. Till now, we were more of a farming company. Now we intend to become a food company. So we are getting into ready-to-cook, ready-to-eat products. Eventually, we'll get into fully cooked products for exports. So that's the path that we intend to go. And the market is evolving. And like I said in the earlier session, the poultry industry will consolidate in the next 1 decade. And the bigger companies will become more efficient because of economies of scale. And that will continue, that will drive growth. And whoever is giving good quality product to the consumer will survive. That's the mantra of the chicken business. And definitely on the D2C brands that came in the last 5 years, initially when they came in, we thought they were our competitors. But in 3 to 4 months, we realized that they are our customers. So now all the brands that you hear, we supply processed chicken to them and they do the cut-ups and pack it. So we are actually happy, but whenever we look at such businesses, we think whether they are sustainable or no. How much money are you burning? That's also very important, because it's someone's money, either a private equity or a strategic partner, whatever it is, but it's someone's money, and you need to have value for it. And I think now, once the investor money is drying up, things will again get back to normalcy.
And mutton and others. But what's the, let's say, domestic market view for the next years? Where do you see growth coming in from? Let's say, which segments you see more growth coming in for domestic markets?
I think my colleagues would say more about the domestic market,
yes,
because
of course.
I can say about exports. If you see the figures, for the current financial year, that is 2020-23, the export of buffalo meat, the share of export of buffalo meat was 79%, followed by dairy products, which was about 15%, poultry products 3.3%, and sheep and goat meat is about 1.7%.
Right.
So it is the buffalo meat, which is the star commodity. And it is doing very well. As far as domestic market, I see there is a lot of potential for poultry meat. Sheep and goat meat also, it's very expensive. If we retail prices are very high. But the consumption of meat in domestic market is increasing.
Okay, specific to exports itself, we export mostly in a commoditized form.
Right.
It's a raw
Yes.
frozen meat.
Yeah.
Is there any avenue, let's say, at least for the neighboring countries in Middle East, etc., because there is a large Indian population also there? Is there a market for processed chicken, or say in the ready-to-eat format? Is there a market there?
Well, initiative has been made. In fact, APIDA had a meeting in the March very recently for promoting the export of value-added processed meat. And small quantities are going, and but now the exporters, they are setting up of the value-added projects, and hopefully this will pick up.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Coming to Suresh Garu, what are the challenges? I think there is a perennial problem of understanding what's the feed cost, feed ingredients cost, and there is a lot of issues in terms of passing on that cost to end consumer. It's a big challenge. But will it be a perennial problem, or are there any the solutions in let's say in the short term to medium term, please?
So so again, looking from the international perspective, this is pretty much the problem in almost all countries, except maybe a Canada or something where they have very good system. The law permits the industry to come together and regulate this thing, and the price is not fixed by the industry; it's fixed by an independent body.
Right.
But it allows them to so it protects the consumers, it protects the farmers. So now, I don't know how many of us will agree to something like that. People like the industry, but that's something that is really, that's working well for them. But it's an issue that is there. But more importantly, I think issue in India mostly is because 95% of our chicken is not processed. So it doesn't allow us to give us much flexibility on, when the ups and downs happens. I don't know how many days do we have festivals and holidays and suddenly some government banning, and we are a unique place, which is, that's the beauty of our country in some sense, but sometimes being in the middle of it is not very happy. But I think also, again, from our industry side, I think we are not doing a very good job of promoting the products, the need for these products. To a large extent, we still talk of the same ad which was done 30 years back, Roj Kao One Day, we still talk about that thing, what did we create in the last, and that was very successful.
Yes.
Right?
Yes, it was.
And today, I think, considering the young people and all that, I think the potential for egg consumption is huge. I can talk of egg, chicken also, and if you go gram for gram protein, bang for the buck, these two are still hugely, since I think there's no dairy here, I can say, one glass of, there I don't care. But he's also in a chicken company now, so I think Sir has also joined in the board of a chicken company, so he's also our guy now. वो समझ में आ गया sir. So he's also अपना ही है. So, like an egg and a glass of milk nutritionally are the same.
Yes, of course.
So, and I'm not saying, and I've always been very clear, sir. I'm only saying 10% of people's daily protein consumption egg से आए. बाकी I'm okay. मैं बड़ा दिल वाला हूँ, sir. सब खाएंगे. But the point is that. But then potential is huge. If you take a gram per kg of body weight as protein requirement, and then you look at our 1.4 going to 1.8 or 2 billion people.
Right.
The potential for this is huge. Okay. And we need to solve certain things, for sure. And but also, Gopi, I think, I don't know if you're asking me that question, but in the poultry industry reduced its resource consumption by 75% in the last 30 years. Wow. Feed, water, electricity, everything, right? 75% we reduced our resource consumption. Some of you, of course, think that we pump in a lot of hormones and all that. I'm sorry. I wish it was the truth. We could do that. Right. No, it doesn't work like that. And I know some of them think that, we can actually put our hand inside and pull eggs out of the chicken. Sorry, it doesn't work like that either.
No, sometimes that is precisely the problem, Suresh ji. See, when you sit with some of the old heads, they'll say, हमारा ज़माने में चिकन होता था एक मतलब 100 days से आता था, अभी क्या है 30 दिन में आ रहा है, उसमें क्या है कुछ दम नहीं है उसमें. So these are the things people, let's say, I mean, there may not be science behind it. Like as Suresh ji said, there is a lot of science that went in, let's say, bringing in all those efficiencies in terms of, how to grow a chicken.
It was very simple, I can tell you, right? I mean, if you've taken Usain Bolt and whoever, I don't know, women have not been following. Flojo was the last one I used to follow. But if you take two of them and keep, and their children and something like that, that's exactly what we have been doing. We select top 0.5% performers for last 90 years now, since genetic selection has started. Genetic modification and genetic selection are two different worlds. This is just selection. For 90 years, we've been selecting the top 0.5% of the 0.5% of the 0.5% of the 0.5%. Then you can imagine where that is. And that's exactly what has happened. And no animal is understood better than chicken in terms of, DNA, in terms of medicine. So everything we feed, 2 nanograms is measured to perform.
Correct.
And the third thing in India that needs to happen now is change. The environment has to be made better. They're still in open houses. They're still in, few of us have started now giving closed houses and all that, and amazing results. When I joined the business in 98, we were talking about 1.9 kilos of feed per kg of body weight. Last year, we got one farm of 1.19, which is, it's not normal, but that shows that it is possible. But 1.35 we are getting as a standard, which is what, I used to hear the Kiwis were doing it, and I'm like, yara sala hum kab aayenge udhar. And today we are also getting in our Hyderabad environment. But that's essentially those, it's not, as I said, hormones, I wish they worked. At least then, accusations would be true. Right? I'm not that we want to use them, but sorry, right. I don't know if I answered.
No, that's fantastic. I think let's also listen from a person who handled a similar stigmatized product in terms of a beverage, right? So how do we address the concerns of, let's say, consumers? Let's say somebody says, Saturday I am not eating, Monday I am not eating. Is there a need for consumer education to, let's say, increase the overall consumption? As everyday chawal ka na bura nahi hai, but everyday chicken ka na bura hai, right? So why is it? Is there a need? I mean, of course, religion and your faith is something we are nobody to question that. But in terms of nutrition point of view, let's say there are, I think I was just sharing with another gentleman that there are many days in a year where tur dal competes with, chicken competes with tur dal in terms of price points. Whereas you get similar or let's say much higher protein in chicken. So is there a need for, let's say, much more broader thinking? Because we say that as a society we are evolving and then we have broader mindset, but why not for chicken? your points.
A very, very good question, I think. But rather than going there in terms of, that saying that should we educate consumers about days of consumption, etc., I think the consumption still is so low that, challenging that is a very tough battle, because that's about beliefs, it's about their religion, this thing. I think that is not a battle you would want to fight. That's number one. I think number two also, when we say that, we need to educate the consumers, I think that's a pretty hard word. Rather than that, I think what we need to do is offer them choices. Offer them choices in an informed way. And then you would realize that more often than not, I think they would pick up that once they have the right information, once they can make the choice. So it's about providing a more informed choice versus then, because education sounds very, like looking down and preachy, this thing. That's not needed, because the one thing we can all agree upon here is that protein for a country like India, nutrition deficient country, it is a growing need. So I don't think that there is any education required there. I think what is required is a very informed sort of a choice. And then lastly, again, we have to think from putting ourselves in their shoes in terms of now what do they need, as in why some of this transition is not happening, or why is it taking so long for it to happen in this industry? I think until we answer that, we will never get to, then expanding the kind of, let's say, the more hygienic or food safety aspects of this. And there again, I would say, while we can say about D2C companies and their inefficient business models, I agree that the business model is not inefficient. But what they have done is, think about it, they have changed the consumer experience.
Right.
I think a Licious, I don't know how many of you have ordered a Licious at home, or any of these companies. I think when the product arrives at home, the experience is very different, versus, let's say, a typical chicken buying experience in any store. Forget the butcher, but even a store, this thing.
Right.
So until the time industry provides that, now the experience has been elevated.
Correct.
And until now you match up to that in a more efficient, in a more economically sustainable model, you will then keep blaming, that, okay, why is it not increasing, or why is, why are people not kind of still adopting this? So I think that's how I would see this the consumer education piece. So
right. Fantastic. Coming to Varun, you might have seen the consumption of chicken in other countries also, and then you might have experienced the way right from back end to front end, the way the poultry is handled in terms of right from field practices, then slaughter, then cold chain, then processed foods. What do you think, let's say, India is missing in terms of this entire world value chain? What other improvements you would love to see, and as well as implement in your own company, if you can throw some light on that?
So that keeps happening continuously, and it's not like small orders. They inquire for 50 containers or 100 containers. That's the order size.
Good problem to have.
Yeah. But at the end of it, the whole thing comes down to price.
Pricing.
There is, like I mentioned in the last session, there is a difference of $300 per ton, where Brazil is cheaper than us.
Wow.
So it translates to about 25 rupees a kilo. And that gap we are not able to bridge. For over the last 4-5 years, we've never been able to match it. Otherwise, efficiency-wise, technology-wise, and even you can compare us with anyone in the world, and we are on par with them because we adopt the latest technology that's coming. And let it be in any part of the world, we are importing the equipment, we are using them. At least the bigger companies are investing in such technologies. So we are very efficient in our production, but we are not able to match the price.
Even the genetics are on par with the global standards.
Yes. All these genetic companies are the bigger guys in the world that have come to India and then adapted themselves.
Adapted for Indian climate, yeah.
So that's not an issue. And production-wise, like Suresh Anna said, FCRs have come down to 1.2, 1.3. General average in open farms is 1.5, 1.6. And that is a reasonable FCR. And that's on par with any other place, even if you compare us to the US and Brazil. So that's not a big issue.
So the whole problem again comes back to the same controlling of the pricing at the nutrition point.
Yes, so India basically uses non-GMO.
Right.
So that we should be able to promote it and fetch a premium in the international market. That is one thing that we can do. And apart from that, there has to be, just like how we have PLI schemes, we need to have export-linked incentives also, because there's a lot of discussion about India being the food provider to the world in the next decade.
Absolutely.
And there's already a lot of buzz around it. There are a lot of international companies looking at Indian companies.
Correct.
Because the vision is that India is going to produce food for everyone outside. Let it be because of labor costs or because of our natural resources that we have in the country. So eventually we will be exporters, but right now we are not able to match because of the price gap.
Pricing, yes. So you want to add something?
Yeah, so couple of points from, like, if you see in the food policy, whatever, the food park and all that, we get subsidy if you're putting cold storage, any vegetable processing, chicken processing, nothing. Right? So these are some things that we have highlighted to the government. They also got present. Because typically milk and all that, उनके ध्यान में आता है. Chicken, again, somewhere I blame ourselves because my father and B.V. Rao said, government के पास मत जाओ. That's how they trained us, right? It's only now, even now he gets very uncomfortable. I'm saying to go meet a secretary or a politician in Delhi. My dad says, "Arre, kyun ja rahe ho?" I said, "Dad, wo duniya gaya. We have to work with them now," right? And last time I think sir also was there in the ministry. Minister साहब से पूछा था. He says, "यार, poultry को every time we given a rupee, we got 10 times back. Please ask what you want." Of course, I'm struggling with our industry in going and asking what do we want. So that is there. Second is, see, I think growth 8% doubling every 8 years. Please understand that is 60 years of our history. So in 8 years it's going to happen, right? And then it's very rapid. 1.4 billion people moving is not a. So we'll have to understand uska piche raw material or follow karna chahiye. And so that is where I feel government is not thinking through, especially on GM. How will we feed ourselves in a few years?
Few years, correct.
Right? Soy, I think we are already hit the cap. And corn also same thing. Now they want to make ethanol out of it and all that. And our farmers are suffering because of, I have seen in Argentina, the guy is producing 4 tons per acre of soy. Our guys are doing 1 ton today. Primarily because of the genetics, So that's one of the things I've been always asking our government is, we are very romanticized about certain things, but can we afford that? Right? I mean, there was a point in which they wanted everything to become free range. So I said, sir, excellent, Madhya Pradesh ko kab khali kar rahe ho? Then they said, what do you mean? I said, because that's the amount of land we need to produce what India needs right now. So then they said, okay, and of course they, emotionally charged things and all that, but fortunately we were able to make them look at it. Said, can we do better? Absolutely. But that is not you can't go to what Norway and California are doing. Right? Those are not our answers. Where most of the countries they are not doing. Aap kyun uchal rahe ho usko aage? Same in vaccination also we are seeing. We have one of the, I would say, dumbest vaccination policy for animals and all that. It takes us years together. The whole world around us is vaccinating. We are the only ones not giving permission. And we are number 2 egg producer in the world, number 4 egg chicken producer in the world, number 1 milk and buffalo in the world. And then, our vaccination policies really, really retarded. And you go to them that kya theory bolte rehte hain, sala, it's very difficult sometimes. But you have to go through it, and then the secretaries change. Ek secretary ko thoda bahut samjhaya, then the new guy comes, and then some of them are like, how can an egg come out when there is no male in the farm? Then explaining to them ki how, hum bole. So like one farmer in East Godavari, he said, sir, amma kya karu? Bhagwan मेरे को धंधा देना था, मुर्गी को ऐसा बनाया. That's the only answer he had. IAS officers, right? I mean, really smart people. She says, how can there not be a male chicken here? How are you getting eggs? So he's like, sir, what do I say? So these are some of the things. But that said, I think over the next 20-25 years, India is the most exciting place, especially for us.
Correct.
And I agree with him. I think earlier I came out like education. That's not what I mean. I mean promotion. Right? This is the world where, bloody chocolate and pencil guy is spending so much money to advertise.
Correct.
And reminding people what they want to eat. We are not doing a good job of that. That's what I meant. And I think 8% growth is very good. I think thinking of more than that is not smart on our part, because, one day, soya went to 1,10,000. Days like that were hell for us, right? Or corn going to 30 rupees is not a happy situation. And, everything else also has to grow accordingly. And so sorry.
I will stop Suresh Garu there, because we are getting into very, in spite of all these problems, what Suresh Garu experienced and whole industry is experiencing, chicken biryani is the most ordered item in the entire online across India, right? So Hyderabad chicken biryani. So let's clap for that and for the wonderful panel. And if there are any, let's say, this subject is never ending. I mean, never ending. We can spend days together on chicken and biryani and whatnot, all the problems. But if there are any 1 or 2 questions, we can take up. Otherwise,
40 years in dairy and less than 40 days exposure to the poultry. So I'm trying to see what are the similarities and what are the dissimilarities, and what are the learnings we can take from each. And because both are basically animal husbandry sector and both are involved, both sides same. One side same type of farmers and sometimes same type of consumers. So what are the learnings? I was listening just now. So one thing which I have got my viewpoint is when you use word processed chicken. It's not processed, because when you say word process, generally consumer has got this mindset, it means it's not natural. Lot of additions have been made, and form has been changed. If you say milk, we never call it processed, we call it packed milk. Loose milk versus packed milk. So when you sell chicken chilled, it's only you are changing the form of, because of you want to transport it, you want to extend the shelf life, you pack it so that quality and standardization. So one is that area. Second, the dissimilarity is because both industry are farmers-based animal husbandry. One industry, which is poultry, is if not 100%, I can say 95% is organized backward and 0% organized in the forward, especially when talking cities. Dairy is totally opposite, 0% organized in the production, and mainly more than 50-60% is organized. So we can take for both industry how dairy industry has been organized in the forward and how poultry has gone to the backward organized. So it can benefit farmers and other thing. Third point, which I think somebody raised, government lobbying, not. I think what my experience with the dealing with the government, when you're talking about your industry, they don't look into as industry profitability. Everybody looks at what is there in for me. And what is there for me, for the policymakers or political leadership, when you're talking about how it is going to benefit masses. Farmers की income में कैसे income होगा, हमारा export कैसे बढ़ेगा, हमारा tax कैसे बढ़ेगा. Okay, like PLI is a very good scheme. But if you can present it, ki how it is going to benefit the farmers, not to me. आप बोलोगे मैं industry वालों को इतना profit बढ़ेगा, कोई interested नहीं है. So how it is going to benefit the lakhs of crores of farmers? And आप imagine कीजिए, PLI as junk food has been got. If you see the latest PLI, there are junk food production increase. They are giving PLI not for the natural, and you say more protein. Incidentally, one plus point when you say milk plus egg, both have got 7 gram, but one 250 gram is equal to one egg. One 250 gram milk now cost around 12 rupees and egg costs 8 rupees. So that is the price comparison also you have to see. It's a good thing. But internationally, I think viability is both in poultry and dairy are same. Our cost of production is higher. So, but gradually we are becoming competitive. Our costs are going to grow, but I have seen world over the cost of production is going up. So that way one day you are going to become very. So thank you very much, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. That was a good point about calling it packaged chicken, not processed chicken. Varun,
Yeah.
come on, tomorrow.
Very
we'll
good
change our
insight.
packaging. I think 2 points. One, sir, I think our major problem is our because of MSP and all that, our raw material price is about 40% higher than Brazil, except during this last year, during the Ukraine war or what, but it's now coming to that level. But peak of it was 60% lower for Brazilians and Americans than us, right? And that's one point. 2, I just wanted to add 2 points about every egg eaten more per capita is 35,000 new jobs. Every 50 grams of chicken eaten more is 30,000 new jobs. So you can imagine, and it has to be 90% has to be in rural. We can't do like dairy, and our businesses can't be done in cities. Only consumption is in cities. So I think that's the other number I wanted to. But sir, welcome to our this thing, and hopefully
Fraternity.
we'll definitely be using you.
Yes.
निचोड़ के रखेंगे सर, वो तो गारंटी कर रहा हूँ. बहादुर भाई नहीं छोड़ेंगे, but हम भी नहीं छोड़ेंगे.
lot of when a industry stalwart, walks into a new industry, he can definitely come with very good insights, which was evident from his observation, which is very helpful. Thank you so much, sir, and thank you all audience for the patient listening, and thank you for the panel.